This week, we're going to take pistons off of connecting rods. Welcome to Urban Monk TV. Sometimes I wonder if I've taken on too much trying to squeeze in this project into my busy life. I work hard, work a lot, got a long commute. Motorcycle's nice for that. And I've got a family and we've got visitors. And now this weekend I'm headed out to Palm Springs for the weekend with my family to have some family time. So not a real long video this week, but we're going to do some really cool stuff. We're going to take the pistons off of the connecting rods, and it was tricky. There was a specialized tool involved that I don't have. I don't even know if it's available from Suzuki. I just went ahead and fashioned one out of what I had lying around in the garage. I went through a couple iterations of ideas and landed on something that's working, and you'll see a little bit of a learning curve along the way, but I think it's pretty cool. I hope you enjoy. So that's what this week's video is going to be, is getting pistons off the connecting rods on this Suzuki GS550 using stuff you have in the garage. So to get these pistons off, there is a retaining ring. This is going to be hard because my camera doesn't focus well close at kind of macro distances. But there's a pin running through that connecting rod and through the piston, and on each side of it there is a retaining ring. And I am trying to hold the camera and the light at the same time. Here, let me switch this. I'll get the tripod out so I can have a free hand to point at what I'm doing here. Okay, so there's a ring that runs right around in here, and there's a little bit of a little gap here where you can get a small needle nose in and grab that ring. What I do need to do is use both hands. I need one to hold the piston, so I'm going to put my light down. The other thing too is that ring has a gap, and you want to rotate it around so that it's somewhere close to this little notch, so that when you're actually putting pressure on the ring, you're grabbing near an end rather than at the halfway point that's diametrically opposed from that gap in the ring, if that makes sense. It's a difficult reach, but once I'm in there, strobe isn't helpful. But there's that ring, and you see how I grabbed it near the gap, as opposed to, I don't want to be grabbing it there, because that's a difficult place to release it from. Okay, I want to show you this tool that I've built based on the special tool that they show in the service manual. I've taken a deep well socket and just another socket of a similar diameter, and some washers to take up space with a nut, and there's a long bolt with a head that is ½ inch, and so on this GS550 that head will fit through the retaining ring, but not through the pin, the connecting rod pin that holds the piston to the connecting rod, and the pin fits inside of that deep well socket. It won't go the entire way, but as I tighten this nut, the problem is I have a limited number of threads on this tool, or on this bolt that's running the length inside there. And I'm going to show you this off the off the bike too, because I know that this is poor lighting and a bad angle. But I'm getting that to draw out of there, as far as I've got threads here anyways, which is a good start. I was playing around with C-clamps, and I thought about using my valve spring compressor tool and fashioning something there, but the method shown with the specialized tool in the service manual made sense to me, so I thought first I'll see if I've got things lying around the garage that I could fashion that tool with. So now I've hit the end of my threads and I'm just spinning here, but I'm going to loosen this up, take all this off my special tool. And there I've gotten that pin out quite a ways. If I had all thread, if I had more threads, I'd draw it the whole way out. But maybe I'm out far enough now where I can just, of course not. It's not going to be that easy. And I'll drop my bolt. Clean that up. Now maybe I can work on this thing. I don't want to work on it like it's a slide hammer. Well, no, let's think about that. Here, I'll come back after I rig something up here. Okay, I'm sorry, I should have had this on camera, but I started working on it, and once I got rolling I pulled it off. So what I did is, once I had that pin out that far, I wrapped it with some shop towel and just very gently grabbed it with my vice grip, and I could just turn it just slightly and got it to work out enough to where I have not damaged that pin in any way. Careful with this, but there is no scratching whatsoever on that pin, and I got it out enough to where the piston's off. So I'm going to label this number 2 and set it aside, and we'll work on number 3. Let me show you on the bench this tool a little bit better with one of my spare pistons. Okay, so as I mentioned, here's a spare piston. This piston has the connecting pin in it. On one side, the retaining ring is still in there. On the other side, the retaining ring is out. So, same situation that we just had over on the engine. So, I've got this long piece of, can't think of what the threads are in this. I know this is 1/2 inch here. So that fits through the middle of the pin, and it fits really closely just inside that retaining ring, but of course is wide enough to hold the pin. And you can see I can just slide it out if I want to. So that was the first piece, is just having this long piece of thread. This would work better, I believe, if you had more thread on here. So if this was all thread, that would be better. I ran out of threads here, and so I can only draw it out that far. But essentially, I ran this thing into the piston. Then I need something to hold against the side of the piston here. So I grabbed a 17mm deep well socket, and I can slide that right on there, and you'll see that this pin fits inside of that socket, so it can be drawn in by the bolt through, put that on. Now I'm still not to my thread, so I thought, well, let's grab another socket, and then I thought, the more threads I can utilize to pull, the further I'm going to get that pin out. So I put some washers on there, and then finally put my nut on. And as I turn my nut, I draw the pin out. So you see how it's coming. And finally I reach the maximum on the threads. Take it all apart. And there I had drawn the pin out that much. And the rest of the way I just wrapped it about 3 times over, so I had a real thick layer of shop cloth against that. And again, put my vice grip around it gently. This is a very hard piece of steel, so it can take some pressure, but I didn't want to score that surface. And so I wrapped it in shop towel. And once it was that far out, I could start spinning that a little bit while I worked it out. So there's making a tool with things that you have in the garage, and you know, that's something you got to be able to do to work on these old bikes, because not all these tools are available. Some of these specialized tools you find in the service manual, and it's kind of fun. So let's try this again, this time on the number 3. I've already removed the snap ring that retains that connecting rod pin in there. Slide my bolt through. By the way, I think I've already improved on my tool since you know, you just keep thinking and you keep getting ideas. So bolts in, sockets on, keeping some tension on that. This one, my washers, my nut, get things aligned, start snugging that thing up. Now I can feel I'm drawing it out. Here I'm actually doing it with my fingers. I don't even need the open end wrench on this. So the tension is not too bad. There I've maxed out on my thread, so here's the improvement, is back this thing out and put in more spacers. Here, I've got even one more I'm going to go grab, and I can draw that out just that much further. So when your wife says clean out the garage and throw this away and throw that away, you know, if you keep a bunch of this stuff around, you never know when it'll come in handy. Now I'm reaching some tension here. I just want to make sure I'm not binding on. I'm good there. Let me grab that 1/2-inch wrench. Yeah. All is good. There, it's loose. I think I'm out for, there we go. Piston's off. So make your own tools.